Thomas Jefferson once said, "Every generation needs a new revolution." He, of course, put his money where his mouth was and helped foment one of his own. And that American Revolution was the beginning of a long series of earth-shattering, life-changing revolutions which, for better or for worse, continue turning the world upside down right into our own days. History has witnessed the upheavals of the French Revolution and the Russian Revolution, the Haitian Revolution and the Mexican Revolution. Our own days have seen the terrors of the Cultural Revolution in China, the heroic Revolution in Hungary, the bloodless Velvet Revolution of Czechoslovakia, the contagious pan-national revolution which we call the Arab Spring. Nor do we have to conjure up images of bullets fired, heads rolling, and flags changed. Other types of revolutions have changed the world even more dramatically, beginning with the Industrial Revolution and progressing through our own digital revolution and information revolution. Human beings have been clever enough to find ways of freeing themselves from the things that used to enslave them and discovering new things to enslave themselves to. My own favorite revolution was one which occurred in the summer of 1988 in the tiny country known as Estonia. For half a century, this ancient nation had been occupied by its giant neighbor, the Soviet Union, and subjected to decades of terror. By the end of the Second World War, over 1/4 of the population had fled, been executed, or deported to Siberia. Finally, the Estonians had enough. They wanted their freedom. They wanted their independence. They knew they could not stage a revolution with force. They had no army. They had no weapons. And even if they had, they would have been ridiculously outnumbered and instantly crushed. What they did have was their music. It was their music that had kept their spirit alive during all those years of oppression. It was their music that they had preserved their culture, their language, their ideals in. Finally, one night that summer, the Soviet authorities stopped a rock concert being held in the old town square of the capital city of Tallinn. The people would not be stopped, though. They all walked en masse the 3 miles to a field traditionally used for song festivals. And for the next 6 nights, 300,000 people gathered there, more than 1/4 of the nation's population, joining hands and swaying together in rhythm as they sang forbidden patriotic songs. Infused with an energy and courage which can only come from the breath of God, known as music, transmitted heart to human heart, hand to human hand, in the powerful chain known as united humanity, they did not falter, they did not fall, they did not fail. Old Estonian flags, hidden away for half a century, were dug up and waved in thousands of joined hands, fanning the flames of freedom kindled by the music. They were not to be stopped, these singing revolutionaries. They had their lips around a song. They had their hands around another's hand, and an invisible, invincible force was forged. The free nation of Estonia was conceived that night in the womb of the singing revolution. Revolution means turning, changing, moving. A world is moved. A world is turned. A world is transformed. And the most important world to turn is not the world outside of us, but the world inside of us. The greatest challenge of the day, says the modern Catholic saint Dorothy Day, is how to bring about a revolution of the heart, a revolution which has to start with each one of us. This revolution of the heart is precisely what the spiritual life is all about. Think, for instance, of the good sisters who, through their complete dedication, have so touched the lives of all of us. People in touch with the Spirit have been able to revolutionize the lives and the worlds of so many fellow human beings simply because they have recognized the Christ within themselves, have taken hold of the hand of that greatest revolutionary, that greatest life-turner of all, and allowed all that divine force to flow through them, just as the life force flows from root to branch, forming one single vine. When the inner world is transformed, turned upside down, or rather right side up, by such an incredibly powerful connection, then the outer world follows naturally. For the hand that dares to hold the wounded hand of the Christ is holding the hand of all the wounded of the world. The song is inhaled, the power shared, the rhythm felt in the single pulse of the chain of 1 billion wounded hands, breathing, drumming, singing into life a marvelous new world. The singing revolution finds a new echo in the hearts of all who dare to grasp the wounded hand extended to them, who dare to allow the vine to blossom through them, who dare to make the eternal voice their own. Their song reverberates, revives, revolutionizes for a lifetime, but it is the song of the ages, taken up by the resounding chorus of sisters and brothers and daughters and sons and women and men and saints and sinners and prophets from time immemorial. Some have been silenced, some have been killed. Some have seen their song snatched and stolen and perverted into something acceptable rather than revolutionary. But as so often has been repeated, you can kill the revolutionary, but you can never kill the revolution. You can stifle the voice, but the song will never be silenced. A lifetime of singing, an eternity of song, a revolution of the soul, turning a broken world towards its God, turning wounded hearts into the wounded heart of love. The world will always need a revolution, because the world itself is in perpetual revolution, moving, turning, dancing in endless revolution around the sun. When we too have the courage to turn our mind, turn our heart, turn our world towards something greater than ourselves, we join in that eternal dance of Mother Earth. When our lives too sway to the rhythm of the song of eternity, when our hand clasps in sacred solidarity the wounded hand of the sister, the brother at our side, then shall our hearts and our ears be opened to know whose song has swayed us. Then shall our eyes recognize whose wounds are pressed to ours. Then shall we consciously, ecstatically, unstoppably turn and turn and turn in the eternal singing revolution of God.